Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to episode 4 of Coin Shop Talk. I'm Stephanie, along with my lovely host, Raven. Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 coins and currency that are most often mistaken to be valuable.
So what happens on a weekly basis in the coin shop is we experience a lot of calls about things that are on the internet that really truly aren't worth much of anything. A lot of it is clickbait and sensationalism about certain coins or currency, and it's really kind of misleading, and it's just so people can get views and clicks.
I do like that people are trying to research something they find that's interesting or they're not familiar with, but again, you do have to take it all with a grain of salt. The most common problem that I've walked in the door this week at the coin shop has been the "In COD We Trust" quarters. They are not actually an error. The women's quarter, it does say "In God We Trust." You have to look at it pretty closely and you can tell that it is a G. They all look like that, so it's not an error. They're all worth face value, but they are collectible as a women's quarter, as part of the women's quarters collection.
Okay, another item that is often called about is the 1982 small date Lincoln cent that is copper. Now, mind you, this penny, if you can ever find one, is extremely rare. The first person that found them literally searched over 1 million pennies to find that coin. And the problem is there's a lot of clickbait about it. People come in with a pile of pennies or cents saying, hey, I have the small date. And you look at them, you say, hey, unfortunately, that's not really it, and here's why. And on some instances, they've driven a couple hours to get to our shop. There's a lot of people in Oklahoma that live rural, and it's very unfortunate, and they waste a lot of time and gas money to come here to try to sell their newfound fortune. The next item Stephanie's going to talk about, and that's the 1976 anything.
What we see most often in the shop and what I get calls most often about is the 76 quarter. Yes, it is the bicentennial, and yes, they're pretty and they have a drummer boy on the back. However, they are not rare, they are not an error. They made minted billions with a B. So they're fun, collectible, but not valuable. Now, if you run across the Eisenhower Dollars, again, there's the different types. Once you get up to the highest grades of 65,
Customer.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We had quite a customer run, so we had to pause for a minute. We're going to let Steph get back into talking about Eisenhowers for you.
Alrighty, I'm pretty sure I was talking about 40%. Every once in a while, there are 40% Eisenhower Dollars that you'll see in circulation because someone broke them out of their parent set. So there are proof S silver, proof S clad, uncirculated S silver, uncirculated S clad. So just because it has an S doesn't mean it's silver or that it's not. Just because it's a proof doesn't mean that it's silver or it's not. You pretty much just have to look at those. But again, you're not really going to find those in change. They weren't in change. They've been broken out of special sets.
Yeah, they were called blue Ikes and brown Ikes, and then also proof sets. That leads us into our next topic, and that is the dateless buffalo. Yes, a no-date buffalo. And we get calls about this all the time. Hey, I found a rare no-date buffalo. Can you tell me how much it's worth? Because I looked on Etsy, and they want $20,000 for them. Unfortunately, that's, again, somebody fishing out there hoping somebody's willing to part with $20,000 for a coin that's worth 6 cents. So for illustration purposes, we have a bucket of buffaloes that actually have full dates on them, and we sell these for $1 a piece. As you can see, it's got a full date, and that's to show somebody that might question us and say, well, Raven, I've seen those everywhere, and they're literally selling them for $5,000 to $10,000. No, they are literally worth 6 cents for no date, about 75 cents to $1 with a full date.
Retail.
Yep. And that leads us into the next topic, and that is presidential dollars, which Steph is going to cover.
Now, we all love presidential dollars. They're fun and collectible, and that's about it. They are collectible. They are gold in color only, and that gold tarnishes pretty quickly. The materials that they're made out of, I'm sorry to say, those gold dollars get pretty yucky pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But they are collectible if you want to collect all of the presidents, if you have an interest in United States history. They make all kinds of fun sets and maps and books you can put them in. So they are fun to collect for their aesthetically pleasing value, but not for any value beyond their face value.
Yeah, and it comes back into the idea that there are a few that are super rare to find, and there's clickbait about that, but you're going to search thousands of thousands before you can find that magical one that's worth about $25.
And there are a lot of varieties.
Yes, a lot of varieties.
So don't mistake errors for varieties. And the first date on the coin is not the date it was minted. That has to do with the date that that president was in office. So the last date is the date that it was minted, the modern date. That's what we're looking for.
Yep. All right, now that brings us to topic number 6. And before we get into topic 6, we had a long break, literally about an hour plus of people. So we just got back. So we're getting back into this. Topic 6 is small cuds and die chips. And, that they really don't bring that much value if they're really tiny ones, little specks here and there. The ones that you're really looking for are the really big cud mark, the ones that are covering a good portion of the coin and are substantial. That's pretty much how it is.
I mean, they're pretty common if they're just small.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens quite a bit. And so that leads us into topic number 7, 1943 steel cents.
Steel cents, and then the 1944 steel and the 1943 copper that everyone's always looking for. They're not out there, okay? Don't bring them into me to try to find, okay? They're rare for a reason. I'm sure that there are collections out there that might have those in them, but those are the kind of coins that are so rare, they're well known. I mean, everyone knows which collections they're in, because if you have that coin, you're going to brag about it to all of your buddies.
Yeah, they're faked quite a bit. Every single one of them that's ever come in here sticks to a magnet right away, and we call it bubble bursting. It's unfortunate that we're popping somebody's bubble because they've spent all the money before we even told them it was fake, which is very unfortunate. All right, so that now leads us into topic number 8, non-silver modern Jefferson nickels. A lot of people do nickel searches in the boxes and everything, and it's cool to find a war nickel because they technically have 35% silver. But other than that, you're not really going to find much in modern Jefferson nickels that are going to be worth money. If you get lucky in one of those boxes, you find some V nickels, you find some buffaloes, you're going to get a little bit, unless it's a key date. And if you find that, you're basically hitting a grand slam. That leads us into topic number 9, which Steph's going to cover.
No Mintmark coins. Now, no Mintmark is not an error. It's not anything special. They're made in Philadelphia. They just didn't put the mint mark on them because that was the first mint. Everyone knew where the coins were minted until they came with other mints. Then they started putting their letters. So after a while, I'm pretty sure we just forgot history and that Philadelphia was the first mint. So we had to start putting that P back on there. But again, they didn't forget it, didn't leave it off. Whoopsies. Wasn't supposed to be there.
And that leads me back into the clickbaitish kind of stuff, Etsy, even some of the whatnot guys that aren't really saying the full story of what things are. And, people are saying, well, I got a no mint mark and it's worth $5,000 because Etsy says it's, rare. And unfortunately, it's just, sensationalism. They're trying to get somebody to click on their stuff, and what we call it phishing. They're hoping they hook somebody and get that coin sold.
They want someone with a whole lot of money but not a lot of sense.
That's awesome. All right, so our last topic number 10, modern star notes within the last couple years are literally not worth much at all above face because they're printing so many dollars these years that literally you have in the serial numbers double alphabets going on, which is unprecedented, and that's happened within the last couple of years. If you have a star note that's in the 60s and 50s and or older, you're doing good. But the ones that are coming out now, if you really want to know if there's anything to them, go to mycurrencycollection.com. You can look it up and see what they say as far as the rarity, and you're going to end up having to sell that on eBay because we're not going to buy it at the shop.
Pause.
All right, so now that we've talked to you about the 10 coin and currency items that are mistaken to be valuable, we just want to introduce you to our security guard here. This is Lumi. She's a rescue dog, and she's part of the RavenHawk Coins and Flying Eagle Coins family. And
you may have seen her peeking around in the videos.
So like always, if you want to correspond, it's RavenHawkCoins@gmail.com. The P.O. Box is 721-296, Norman, Oklahoma 73070. Please make sure to take care of one another, and we'll see you real soon. RavenHawk Coins, have a great day.